across any ocean to find it. Won't let no mountain get in the way. Hey. We come across the water, been through the fire. I know that my heart will show me the way. Everywhere you turn, you see people smiling. We don't see no creed and race. Don't want nobody tell we about leaving. We fight for we thing and this is we place. Take me home. Take me home. Take me to a place where my heart don't feel no pain. Take me home. Take me home. Take me home. Well, everybody shouting out right there. It's a baby dim deep down inside me. And if you're looking for me, you're gonna find me right there. Right. I will cross any ocean to find it. Won't let no mountain get in the way.
My name is Wendy H. Lewis. I am the Chair, District Manager, and Regional President of Caribbean Women, Honors and Empowerment, the Trinidad and Tobago chapter, fondly called CHAWI. CHAWI has 13 chapters in Africa, 11 in the United States, Trinidad and Tobago being number 9. Who are we and what do we do? We are mandated to ensure that our sisters, our women, our nieces, our daughters are well taken care of in the avoidance of abuse, gender-based violence, all the different types of abuse, from financial abuse, emotional, mental, spiritual, physical. We are mandated to ensure their safety, mentally, emotionally, and physically. How do we do this? We have an NGO where we look after their needs. We have an NGO where we answer the call. We get calls 3 a.m., 2 a.m. Women need our help. We literally go into the root of the matter. We enter the forested areas to bring these women out. And we cannot do any of this alone. We need you. We need your volunteerism. We need your expertise. We are calling for people to join Caribbean Women, Honors and Empowerment to aid in the fight against abuse against our sisters and our women. Get in touch with us right now. The email address is at the bottom of your screen. The telephone number is there. Our Facebook page is CWHETNT. If you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. Join CHAWI now.
Father, we pray until the very end of we days. Take me home.
I am the Chair, District Manager, and Regional President of Caribbean Women, Honors and Empowerment, the Trinidad and Tobago chapter, fondly called CHAWI. CHAWI has 13 chapters in Africa, 11 in the United States, Trinidad and Tobago being number 9. Who are we and what do we do? We are mandated to ensure that our sisters, our women, our nieces, our daughters are well taken care of in the avoidance of abuse, gender-based violence, all the different types of abuse, from financial abuse, emotional, mental, spiritual, physical. We are mandated to ensure their safety, mentally, emotionally, and physically. How do we do this? We have an NGO where we look after their needs. We have an NGO where we answer the call. We get calls 3 a.m., 2 a.m. Women need our help. We literally go into the root of the matter. We enter the forested areas to bring these women out. And we cannot do any of this alone. We need you. We need your volunteerism. We need your expertise. We are calling for people to join Caribbean Women, Honors and Empowerment to aid in the fight against abuse against our sisters and our women. Get in touch with us right now. The email address is at the bottom of your screen. The telephone number is there. Our Facebook page is CWHETNT. If you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. Join CHAWI now.
Everywhere you turn, you see people smiling. We don't see no creed and race. No one, nobody.
And Regional President of Caribbean Women, Honors and Empowerment, the Trinidad and Tobago chapter, fondly called CHAWI. CHAWI has 13 chapters in Africa, 11 in the United States, Trinidad and Tobago being number 9. Who are we and what do we do? We are mandated to ensure that our sisters, our women, our nieces, our daughters are well taken care of in the avoidance of abuse, gender-based violence, all the different types of abuse, from financial abuse, emotional, mental, spiritual, physical. We are mandated to ensure their safety, mentally, emotionally, and physically. How do we do this? We have an NGO where we look after their needs. We have an NGO where we answer the call. We get calls 3 a.m., 2 a.m. Women need our help. We literally go into the root of the matter. We enter the forested areas to bring these women out. And we cannot do any of this alone. We need you. We need your volunteerism. We need your expertise. We are calling for people to join Caribbean Women Honors and Empowerment to aid in the fight against abuse against our sisters and our women. Get in touch with us right now. The email address is at the bottom of your screen. The telephone number is there. Our Facebook page is CWHETNT. If you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. Join CHAWI now.
Take me to a place where my heart don't feel no pain. Take me home, take me home, take me home. When everybody's shouting out, right there, it's a rhythm deep down inside me. And if you're looking for me, you're gonna find me. Right there, right there. I repeat the bim 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 right there. It's a rhythm deep down inside me. Take me home, take me home, take me home. Whoa, 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 yeah. Whoa, whoa, yeah. Whoa, whoa, yeah. Whoa, yeah. When I'm feeling under the weather, just make me feel sweet. Only you alone can put fire back in my soul. And they telling me I should be that fire.
Right. 1, 2, 3.
Testing.
1, 2, 3.
Mic check. Mic
Mic
check.
check.
1, 1. It's fine.
My check. A pleasant good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome. I would invite us to stand at this time. As we bow our hearts and our heads, and it will be followed by the national anthem of Trinidad and Tobago. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to serve. We thank you for CHAWI, O God. We thank you that we are here to do your work, to do your will, and to help others, O God. Father, let this discussion go according to your plan and your purpose. Let everything that we do be done in decency and in order. We thank you for our honorable minister who's here with us, O God. We thank you for every panel member who's here and our audience who are here, for members of the media. So, Father, we ask that you let everything be done according to your plan and your purpose. In Jesus' name, amen. So let's stand at attention for the national anthem of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you. You may have your seats. Again, a pleasant good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. the Honorable Michael Dowlat, Member of Parliament for the host constituency of San Fernando West and Minister of Education, Miss Wendy H. Lewis, Chair and Regional President of Chawi, Directors Cummings, Haynes, Mohammed, and Ramkaran, our esteemed panelists, Vaughnette Bigford, Rosetta Rose Collins, Lisa Fairveck, and Dr. Jason Batson, Kenny Phillips, the Chair of NAPA and the CEO of WAC 9001 FM, members of the media, members of the armed forces, our online viewers, and ladies and gentlemen present, a pleasant good afternoon. I have the distinct pleasure of being your host for this afternoon, Myths, Mindsets, and Menopause. What a topic. So I really have to say to Dr. Dowlat, hats off to you, sir, for being here to discuss and being brave to discuss this topic. But it's indeed a meaningful topic. And if you know anything about Chawi, we have been trendsetters. We have charted the way forward. And so this afternoon is going to be no different. So I encourage the audience, participate, share your views, and let's learn from this esteemed panel. So at this time, I would like you to sit back as we get a little insight into who's Chawi. But before that, Wendy gave me the opportunity, so I like to change around the program. And at this time, I would like to hear from this brave man who decided to come on a Saturday afternoon to share with us and to bring welcome remarks, the Honorable Dr. Michael Dowlat. Let's put our hands together.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy to be here on the invitation of my good friend, Ms. Wendy Lewis. So I want to recognize her. And as the chair and regional president of Chawi, yes, all our directors, all our panelists, all of the dignitaries who are here, our audience who are with us and those who are listening, I want to say that as the Member of Parliament for San Fernando West and also as the Minister of Education, I welcome this discussion, Myths, Mindset, and Menopause. It's really a privilege for me to be invited here because it's about raising awareness about a stage in the life of women that has been shrouded in silence for many, many years. And so I think it's my duty to be here to share a few thoughts, but also to highlight these issues and to bring awareness, not just to those of us in San Fernando West, not just us in Trinidad and Tobago, but internationally. One of the things, and as I read about it, menopause is not optional. Every woman, if she lives long enough, will go through this transition. And so it's universal, not just limited to the Caribbean or Trinidad and Tobago. And, you know, the discussion may have been missing because some women may have felt misunderstood or marginalized. And the other thing is that there's a misconception that menopause signals a decline in your usefulness or relevance to the society. And so that's why this theme, myths, mindset, and menopause is so crucial. Some of the myths I came across. Menopause means the end of fertility and is the end of life's purpose. Hormone replacement therapy is too risky and must always be avoided. Menopause is purely a woman's issue and irrelevant to men or to the broader family. But I want us to reframe the mindset that has existed for so many years. Let us view menopause not as a decline, but as a transition, as a passage, and not a prison. Let us regard it not as a pathology, but as a natural biological stage. And let us shift from silence to empowerment, from stigma to compassion, from isolation to collective knowledge. So let us center on information about this topic. Every woman should have information and access to that information. Every woman should have medical options and the kind of support to make her own choice. And I think that's very important. That information allows you to make your own choice. But let's also reflect on mental health. Because with menopause, one cannot speak about it without acknowledging its impact on mental and emotional health. The hormonal fluctuations can precipitate mood changes, anxiety, sleep disturbances, and even depression. And, all of these are compounded by societal pressures, role changes, women as caregivers, and sometimes, there's what is referred to as invisibility in midlife crisis. And so, as a nation, this discussion today is really important for us to chart a holistic approach. And so it is a very important step in public education. So let's give them a round of applause. I mean, this is a really brave step. And the longest journey starts with the first step. And so menopause awareness, I would recommend, should be placed on the health curricula of schools and university and tertiary institutions. It should be, just like how we are this community center, it should be a program that goes out to the community through our community centers, through the various clinics that are available, and also in the workplace for awareness. And you'll be surprised. You may need training for medical personnel and counselors. You might think they may be experts, but I think that, there's a level of knowledge that has to be attained by those medical professionals and counselors to be able to deal with menopause. And just like this group, support groups peer networks, safe spaces where women could share their stories. And they could get that kind of solidarity. And so, I think what we discussed today may actually affect workplace policies, how we deal with menopause and all the associated issues. And so, as we take this step, amongst many other steps, I could see us collaborating with other NGOs, faith-based groups, and I welcome the media here today. The media is very important in transmitting this message. And so, information on menopause has to be weaved into the societal fabric. So, women going through midlife will not be sidelined, but supported and respected. But as I conclude, I want to say that men should not be spectators in this story. They are participants in families, in marriages, in the workplace, in the health system. And I encourage the men I see here and those who are listening to us online to listen, to ask questions, so we too can have a better understanding, so we can be allies, we can be support our partners, support our mothers, support our sisters. In the workplace, support our colleagues through menopause. And to the women, this is empowerment for you. So this is an opportunity for you to claim your voice and to seek and to demand information, the best information you can get. Remembering that menopause is not a mark of weakness, but a chapter of life deserving respect, dignity, and care. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And so I too learned some lessons from that brief address, that it is not a prison. It is a new mindset. It is a new chapter that I have to embrace. And so, thank you. I think Minister looked into Chawi's little playbook a little bit because he spoke a lot about the empowerment. And I was glad that he said for the men that you all are not bystanders in this. So thank you, Honorable Minister. We take your words to heart. And at this time, for those of you who will not be familiar with Chawi, we take the opportunity now for you to get a brief insight into this dynamic organization called Caribbean Women Honors and Empowerment, the Chawi Trinidad and Tobago chapter. And so we have a short video presentation, and I hope that you enjoy it. Yes?
Mental, spiritual, physical. We are mandated to ensure their safety, mentally, emotionally, and physically. How do we do this? We have an NGO where we look after their needs. We have an NGO where we answer the call. We get calls 3 a.m., 2 a.m. Women need our help. We literally go into the root of the matter. We enter the forested areas to bring these women out. And we cannot do any of this alone. We need you. We need your volunteerism. We need your expertise. We are calling for people to join Caribbean Women Honors and Empowerment to aid in the fight against abuse against our sisters and our women. Get in touch with us right now. The email address is at the bottom of your screen, the telephone.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Our first panelist, Vonette Bigford, is a vocalist, entertainment entrepreneur, band leader, and host. She has performed at every major jazz and music festival in Trinidad and Tobago and has been featured at the Barbados Jazz Excursion, the St. Lucia Jazz Festival, the Berkeley Summer Concert Series, and the New York Caribbean Jazz Festival, among others. She is a producer and creative mind behind several local sold-out jazz productions, including Soirée After the Mass, Masquerade, and the Freedom Jazz Jam, and has built quite a following on social media and beyond. Vonette studied for a short period at Boston's well-known Berklee College of Music and was student to several accomplished and well-loved jazz and blues vocalists based in the US. A dynamic and versatile stage performer, she is also known to be an advocate for women in business, women in art, and women's health issues. Miss Vonette. Dr. Jason Batson has over 13 years of experience in natural and integrative health. He is a US-trained blood microscopist with specialties in, and limited amount. I'm limiting myself to this wide amount of expertise and specialties. Nutritional counseling, integrative hormonal therapy, botanical medicine, enzyme therapy, and the list goes on, like I said. He obtained a PhD in natural and integrated medicine and a master's in health science at the International Quantum University of Integrative Medicine. Mr. Batson. Miss Roberta Rose Collins is an NWHWC board-certified integrative health and wellness coach, NGO founder, and transformational leader with a focus on women's wholeness and well-being. Roberta integrates her lived experience, professional training, and compassionate approach to help women embrace vibrant, purpose-driven lives. She's a founder of Yes, She Can, an NGO that has created an international sisterhood for women. She also leads Royalty for a Night, a project that gives young graduates across Trinidad and Tobago the opportunity to celebrate milestones with dignity and confidence. After entering surgical menopause at the age of 24 and later being diagnosed with a celiac disease, she turned her personal health challenges into a mission to inspire resilience and empowerment. Through her coaching, programs, and advocacy, Roberta continues to lift women, equipping them with the tools and support to navigate life's challenges, reclaim their strength, and thrive in every season of their lives. Miss Roberta. We have one more panelist, Miss Lisa Fivick. I think she is online, correct? Yeah, she's joining us online. Menopause dietitian and coach, international best-selling co-author, keynote speaker. Lisa Fivick is a registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator, 3-time international best-selling co-author, and transformation coach. She brings together science and compassion, drawing on her master's in philosophy in human ecology to integrate evidence-based nutrition, practical lifestyle strategies, and cultural insights into her work. With a special focus on women's health, Lisa is dedicated to helping women through perimenopause and menopause with confidence. Her approach is centered on empowering women to prioritize their well-being in all ways that both realistic and sustainable without feeling overwhelmed or restrictive. Through her programs and coaching, Lisa supports women in reclaiming their energy, strengthening self-confidence, and creating habits that foster resilience, both physically and emotionally. She continues to inspire audiences and clients alike with her expertise, practical strategies, and unwavering commitment to supporting women's health and well-being. Please introduce and welcome our panelists and Lisa Online. Thank you. Want me to? And I'd like to introduce our chairperson for CHAWI, Wendy H. Lewis. Wendy wears many hats: transformational CEO, moderator, and corporate facilitator at the Corporate Training Academy, formerly the Trinidad and Tobago School of Protocol. Keynote speaker, communications, sales, and marketing strategist, mentor, counselor, announcer, radio host, and TV presenter, from Down to Earth with Wendy to Straight Talk with Wendy to A Woman's Word, author, and much more. Chair and Regional President of International NGO Caribbean Women Honors and Empowerment Trinidad and Tobago Chapter, Wendy leads several initiatives, including the island-wide Period Poverty Campaign, a monthly initiative addressing period poverty in communities all over Trinidad and Tobago. With an associate's and bachelor's degree in theology, master's in entrepreneurship and leadership, diploma in child psychology, certifications in counseling, event management, public speaking, radio broadcasting, and corporate protocol, Wendy possesses a diverse skill set. Wendy's program, A Woman's Word, covers entrepreneurship, female empowerment, education and health, parenting, child abuse, gender-based violence, and much more. Wendy has spent over 3 decades in entertainment and media as an artist manager, booking agent, performer, being the first woman to win London Calypso Monarch writer, events host, and event management. Wendy's true gift lies in her voice, which is used to advocate for positive change, empowerment, and financial freedom. Wendy has spoken locally, empowering young ladies from the victims and witness units, several police youth clubs, schools, and churches regionally. At Loud 23 in Antigua, Loud 24 in Jamaica, Loud 25 in Trinidad, Office of the Prime Minister, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Sorry about that. Wendy's parenting program, launched in August 2022, continues to assist parents far and wide. Many hats, one voice. Let's welcome the moderator for the afternoon's panel discussion, Ms. Wendy H. Lewis.
So my mouth big enough. So what they forgot to tell you is that Wendy and I have been best friends since primary school. So I know indeed that you all are really in for a treat. So at this time I understand Ms. Fevek is online and I'm not sure if she's ready to present. So let's hope that technology doesn't give us too much of a run for our money this afternoon.
2.
Mama, big enough, in primary school, one of the things they always used to say is, Marsha, you and Wendy need to stop talking. But had we done that, Wendy would not have been where she is, and she would not have been able to invite me to be the chairperson. So it's a good thing that I could talk. So at this time, we want to turn our attention to, I don't know if we could dim the lights a little bit so that we can be able to see the presentation done by Miss Fevek. Yes? Over to you, Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Can you see and hear me clearly? Okay, I guess I'm going first. So good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, I couldn't be there in person. I had 2 other speaking engagements today, so I wouldn't have been able to make it on time. But maybe it's good that I'm going first because I have a little introduction on what is menopause, explaining the stages, and then we'll talk a little bit about the food that you should eat to help you cope in this stage. So let me share my screen. Right, are you seeing my screen clearly? Okay, great. So today we want to talk about some of the stages and symptoms of menopause, the solutions that we can use to cope with these symptoms, and then I'll stick around at the end for the question and answer session. A little bit about myself, and thank you for that warm introduction. So my focus, my passion and purpose in life is to help women go through these stages of menopause with the least amount of pain as possible because I started my own journey in my 30s. I didn't start with hot flashes. I started with a toothache that just came and went, and nobody could figure out why. It progressed to anxiety, heart palpitations, and every time I went to the doctor, they were saying nothing is wrong, but I got another prescription. And I had to do my own research to figure out I was in perimenopause. So the reason why I love partnering with people like Wendy and the panelists is because we need to have more conversations about this topic. And I'm happy to hear that the minister also agrees. So that gives me a lot of hope. So let's start with some of the things you should know about perimenopause and menopause. Every woman's journey through menopause is different. Yes, we could look at our mom or sisters, but for example, my mom started in her 50s and started with hot flashes. I started in my 30s and I started with a toothache and then joint pain. So every woman's journey is different. There are over 100 symptoms of menopause. The number is around 130. So you can start in perimenopause and not start with hot flashes. Many of my clients actually have about 50, 60 symptoms at one time. And that's why it's so difficult to diagnose. And that's why a lot of women suffer. And most of us suffer in silence because we are not sure what's going on with our bodies. The third one is that we are in menopause until we die. So does it mean that we could have symptoms in our 70s and 80s? Yes, it does. Because we are classified as postmenopause until we leave this earth. So it means that we need to try different therapies, whether it's hormone replacement therapy, whether it's lifestyle strategies, to try and cope with all of these symptoms. The fourth one is that you could be in perimenopause and still get pregnant. Once you're having a menstrual cycle, you can still get pregnant. And I had one client who started off with perimenopause, got pregnant, so she was dealing with perimenopause symptoms and pregnancy symptoms at one time. It was not a fun journey for her. So please remember, once you're having a menstrual cycle, you can still get pregnant. Your risk for cardiovascular disease shoots up and is higher than a man's risk once you enter into menopause. So before menopause, a man's risk for cardiovascular disease, cardio meaning heart, vascular meaning blood vessels, so we're talking about things like strokes, heart attacks, a man's risk is higher. When you enter into menopause, your risk goes up and it shoots up higher than a man's risk. So that is why we want to have these conversations. It's not just about the hot flashes and the night sweats. It's about our risk for disease and our quality of life. Also, women of color usually start at an earlier age and have more severe symptoms. So women of color usually have more frequent hot flashes and more severe hot flashes, as an example. That also raises your risk for cardiovascular disease. So that is why I love having these conversations. This is why I love talking and bringing awareness about menopause. Because again, it's not just about the hot flashes and the mood swings and your libido and things like that. I am looking at your quality of life. Are you at risk for disease, and how is that going to impact everything else? So this here is a diagram just explaining what menopause, the stages of menopause. This is natural menopause, and I'll explain what that means in a bit. You'll see here, and I hope you're seeing the different stages, you'll see pre-menopause. Pre means before. So before you enter into menopause, so this is your normal menstrual cycle that you have every month. Then your estrogen levels and other hormones start to drop and fluctuate wildly. So this is your perimenopause stage. So you're still having a menstrual cycle, but your estrogen levels are dropping. So you're starting to get symptoms. You'll see sometimes premature menopause. Those are women like myself who start in their 30s. Then to be in menopause, you must go 12 straight months without having a menstrual cycle. If you start, let's say that 11th month, which I got some of my clients to, in 11th month and you get back your period, you have to start your count from day one all over again. You must go 12 straight months. The next day, after those 12 months, you're in menopause. So you're in menopause for 1 day. The next day after that, until you die, you're in postmenopause. Can you still get symptoms in postmenopause? Definitely. This is natural menopause. Your body is naturally having these symptoms. There's something called surgical menopause. So if you have your ovaries and uterus removed, so a total hysterectomy, your body is shoved into menopause the next day. And people have had symptoms the very next day. And sometimes doctors don't tell women or warn women about this. So they're thinking they're getting these crazy symptoms and they're not sure what's going on. If you have a partial hysterectomy, meaning your ovaries are still there, you're just removing your uterus, you still can experience menopausal symptoms. So technically you shouldn't, because you still have your ovaries, you're still producing hormones. But many women have a partial hysterectomy and still go into menopause. There's something also called chemical menopause. So if you're having breast cancer treatments, you're on certain types of medication, or certain types of heart disease, etc., your body can go into menopause as well. These are some of the common symptoms that you find with menopause. Remember, I said there are over 100, there's about 130. So the common ones are the hot flashes, of course, the fatigue, all the different types of pain, joint pain, muscle pain, your brittle nails, your brittle hair not growing at the top of your head, but growing on other parts of the body that you don't want it to, anxiety, depression, dizziness, vertigo, feeling like you're getting shocked, feeling like you're itching all over. So these are the common ones. What I tell clients is start at the top of your head and work your way down, and anything and everything that can happen in menopause is a menopause symptom. So some of the ways we cope: hormone replacement therapy. So if you're losing hormones, you can take medication to put back the hormones. And I'm glad the minister is here, because we don't have enough of the types of hormone replacement therapy that could really help women. So I'm hoping that the powers that be can bring in more types, more options for women at a cost that they can afford, so we can get the support that we need. But what I focus on is the lifestyle changes. So some women choose not to go on medication, some can't. So if you have certain types of heart disease, certain types of breast cancers, you can't use hormone replacement therapy. And this is where the lifestyle changes come in. So we'll focus a bit on nutrition today, but don't forget physical activity. And I use the word physical activity and not exercise, because exercise can raise anxiety in some women, but just move your body. You like gardening, do gardening more often and do it more vigorously. You have household chores, put on some music. I tell women, dance for 3 songs and clean the room. So there's always a way to move your body. And don't forget your mindset. Studies show that the more positive you are, you actually feel those symptoms less. So when they looked at women with hot flashes, if they were more positive, they still got the hot flashes, but they went from like a scale of 9 to 5, right? They felt it less. So never give up on those positive affirmations, whether it's prayer, whether it's meditation. Find a way that works for you where you stay positive. When it comes to nutrition, I want you to let your plate look something like this. Yes, it's an AI diagram, but let your plate be colorful. Learn to enjoy fruits and vegetables. Yes, we talk a lot about protein, and yes, protein is definitely important. But the reason why we have so much disease is because we're not getting enough fruits and vegetables and whole grains, peas, beans, nuts, seeds, those types of food. So when you put in your plate, I know Trinis like to put meat on the plate first and then find things to go with the meat. I'm asking that you change your mindset, put vegetables on your plate, and then you can have your meat, you can have your peas, but focus on the veggies first. You could season your veggies in the same way you season your meat. So focus on those colors, choose peas and beans, focus on fatty fish, chicken breast instead of the red meat. Red meat also raises your risk for heart disease. So if you're already in menopause and your risk is raised, then eating red meat is not the best choice. Focus on those healthy fats.
That's right? Good. So at this time, we would like to invite Dr. Batson to do his presentation.
Testing? Okay, good. Thank you so very much for that. Now, the thing with Wendy and the organization, and the Honorable Minister so eloquently mentioned that, we really need to pay so much attention to this particular issue. So let me just tell you a bit about myself quickly. I own and operate an organization by the name of Batson and Associates, and I have over 18 years experience in integrative medicine. And the reason why I did integrative medicine, simply because I found that it really challenged and really dealt with the root issues as opposed to simply dealing with symptomology. Now, I always tell persons I'm not in the politics of medicine. My job is to simply get sick people better. And after God, I have an excellent reputation in doing that. Now, for the past 16 years, I have treated women specifically with these type of issues. And one of the things that a lot of persons do not understand is that perception is everything. People make decisions based on the information that they have. And, a lot of women, unfortunately, do not have sufficient information as regards to menopause, this particular issue. We also highlighted the men because what you find with this situation is that it could significantly affect societal roles. It can significantly affect mental health to the point where you actually can lose someone. I'll give you an example. There was this particular client I had who came to me. She was basically 45 years. she had demonstrated some symptomology associated with hypertension and prediabetes. So that was the diagnosis that was given to her. What I usually tell patients and individuals when we're treating them and dealing with them, when you come to someone like us, your diagnosis is irrelevant. And I'll explain that to you. Simple analogy, if you have mosquitoes, you always have mosquitoes. So you buy whatever it is, you smoke it out, you use flit, you use whatever the case may be. The next week, you're going to have more mosquitoes. So the situation is not necessarily getting rid of the mosquitoes, because you cannot say with certainty what type of mosquito you're going to get to know. You can't say you're going to get an Aedes aegypti or a particular different type of mosquito. You cannot with certainty determine how many mosquitoes you get. And I'm saying that to make the point that the situation or the symptomology is the mosquitoes. What you need to deal with is the stagnant water. And as the presenter a while ago mentioned, when you're looking at the different aspects of medicine, and menopause, what you find with a lot of women, that particular symptomology that she demonstrated, she was 45 years, prediabetes, hypertension. So when she came to us and we did the various tests that we did, I told her, I said, you know what your problem is? I said, you're going through premenopause, you know. She said, well, no, I'm still seeing my menstrual cycle. That cannot be the case. So when we went down and we started to look at the different organ systems, what was really happening to her is the hormonal imbalance. So the imbalance in the endocrine system was now causing a hormonal situation, which is lower levels of estrogen, lower levels of progesterone, which was now affecting the cardiovascular system. So the diagnosis that she had as it relates to hypertension, the hypertension was really secondary hypertension as a result of a primary hormonal imbalance challenge. You all following me so far? So in that particular regard, I tell persons that is the integrative approach that you have. Because I'll give you a next example. There was this particular client that came to us and she had a serious problem with her bones. So the doctors had done a bone density scan on her. She also came with a CT scan, and in the CT did highlight some serious issues where she had serious calcium loss. Now the thing is, when you look at it from the basis of anatomy and physiology, the explanation is simple in the sense that, again, because of the endocrine imbalance, because of going through this hormonal change in the body, what is now happening is it is interfering with the musculoskeletal system. There are certain drivers of disease in the body. Inflammatory response is one of the major drivers of disease. So you will ask the question, what does inflammatory response have to do with menopause? If you examine any female who is going through this particular change, this transition in her life, whether you're looking at peri, you're looking at menopause, or you're looking at post-menopause, you would realize that it now, again, significantly affects a number of organ systems, as I mentioned. So what you have in a situation here now, the thyroid and all has actually got involved. Now, the thyroid is responsible for removing calcium from the bones, because your bones are made of calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus in the form of calcium phosphate. What the thyroid is responsible in doing is actually removing calcium from your bones and put into your blood to basically maintain the pH of blood, which is like about 7.4. The point I'm getting here, so symptomology again, this particular individual has osteopenia, osteoporosis, so they're losing a lot of density from the bones. They are now more susceptible to fractures. They cannot exercise, they cannot walk, they're getting a lot of pain in their joints. So when we did the various analysis and we checked out all that we needed to check out, that particular individual, hormonal replacement therapy was not an option for them. So we had to do an integrative approach where we highlighted and dealt, first of all, with gastrointestinal. We also did some work on the endocrine system, so we did some work on the thyroid, parathyroid. We also did some work on the circulatory system. So in that regard now, when we send that client to be reassessed, because we're going to do that assessment based on information. So for example, we would do something known as an ESR. So that is an erythrocyte sedimentation ratio. Basic laboratory test where they basically put your blood in a test tube and they look at the rate at which it falls. Now, based on the laws of anatomy and physiology, what you would find is that in a menopausal situation, you now have an additional driver of disease, as I mentioned, which is inflammatory response. Anytime your ESR is over 20, because the normal rate is supposed to be 0 to 20. If you have an ESR, of 100, you are a perfect candidate for cancer, any type of cancer, whether you're looking at, in this particular cancers that you find women usually have as it relates to menopause, because you're now in a situation where it's much easier, to end up with things like ovarian cancer. One of the things that the facilitators mentioned a while ago, she spoke about surgical menopause. So let me touch on that a bit. One of the things that you understand with integrative medicine very quickly is that you do not only focus on the physical body. Very quickly, we have a spiritual body. You have what is known as your supramental body, which is your subconscious mind. You have your conscious body, which is your mental body. You have the fourth body is your vital or energy body, and the last body is the physical body. So when a female is dealing with menopause, the central nervous system gets the most amount of licks. Now, as was mentioned, each woman experiences menopause differently. But I'm telling you, 99.9% of the time, the central nervous system is going to be affected. And there are a number of reasons why that happens. But what a lot of women have to understand in this journey is you need to take all those things into consideration. You need to look at the spiritual body, and that is where you have things like prayer, meditation. You also need to look at the supramental or the subconscious mind. So again, that is meditation, deep breathing, yoga. Then you also look at the physical aspect of the body, and that is where things like exercise comes in. That is where, she mentioned when you look at the dietary aspect. And as someone trained in clinical nutrition, which is nutrition for disease, there are specific therapies as it relates to vitamins. So for example, all women who have that situation, you need to be using some form of vitamin D3. We usually recommend anything like 10,000 international units, 20,000 international units. You'd realize a lot of persons talking about magnesium now. I've been recommending magnesium to my patients for the past 16 years. I myself have been using magnesium for over 24 years because we now understand or have understood since that time, and more so now, the importance, because you usually find when women going through or experiencing this, their magnesium levels are very low. So what they essentially happens is you're in a situation where you're actually attempting to build a house without material. So that would sort of give you an indication from that integrative approach that you need to look at it from the holistic aspect. You must look at all those bodies, and in doing so, you would realize that you would actually be able to overcome a number of the issues that you would be experiencing. Thank you very much.
Well, I think the tempo starts already. So I would like to take my leave of absence and really hand it over to this esteemed panel because I'm really excited. You all gathering information that you didn't know before? Anybody here knew all this was in this thing called menopause? I now understand while I used to be in the air condition and a fan in, and everybody didn't understand why. So we have so much more to learn. So at this time, it is indeed my pleasure to hand over to our moderator for this afternoon, Miss Wendy H. Lewis.
Thank you very much, Miss Bailey, my bestie for life. Dr. the Honorable Michael Dowlett, Member of Parliament for the constituency of San Fernando West and Minister of Education, panelists, CHAWI directors, members of the media, Mr. Kenny Phillips, Chair of NAPA, and all you amazing people who braved the heat to be here this afternoon. Welcome to this interesting discussion on myth, mindset, and menopause. Give yourselves a round of applause for simply being here. This is an interesting one, and I have my questions here, but I want to flow as well. I found the 3 presentations, because just in case you didn't realize, Dr. Dowlett well-researched and gave us an excellent presentation at the helm of this discussion, followed by Lisa Fevick and Dr. Batson. But somebody messaged me and asked me, how come Vonette coming to talk about menopause? And she sing jazz? I said, listen, tune in, because trust me, you're going to learn something from her story. One of the things, so I will share with you how Chawi decided that Vonette needed to be here. So Vonette and I are friends, and we're online, and we follow each other. And Vonette started sharing her story, her experience with this thing called menopause. And for me, it was extremely brave. I think I would have been able to go so in-depth, but if you need to exhale, you need to exhale. And I started learning so much from Vonette's story. And then I started inbox and we having our own little conversation about who you're seeing, what you recommend, etc. And I said, you know what? This story needs to be heard. And her experience needs to be shared, because sometimes us women, we suffer in silence, because we're not too sure what the other person is going to say or how the other person is going to respond. But if you know Vonette personally, she's very outspoken. And Vonette, I just need to just go and have a seat, because I need you to share from your heart what this topic means to you in your way.
I mean, I understand the question, because generally when people see me at a space, they assume that I come here to sing. And they're correct. I am a jazz singer, but I am a perimenopausal jazz singer. I have found, and I mean, I've been asked the question on several occasions, because there's an assumption that when you're a public figure somewhat, there are certain pieces of information that you should not share. And I had several people ask me that, well, why? And I just say, here, what now? I am a human being. I am a woman, lie down in my bed, crying for 2 weeks, and can't explain to anybody why I am crying. Weeping over the fact that I have no money to send my son to university when he was 9 years old. And those are the kinds of things that made me realize that something just was not right with what was going on with me. I went from being an extremely happy-go-lucky, generally fit person to wondering whose body I was living in at 44, 43, 44. And I realized that I feel I want to go through this by myself. And I started talking about it. And of course, many of the women who had been very silent about it, or who feel that it's some sort of taboo, would come in my inbox and say, oh God, Vonette, I'm going through the same thing. I've never been afraid to tell my story, especially because it's a story that so many of us share. I ain't special. Plenty women can't sleep when the night come. I'm lucky enough to not go through periods of hot flashes or like my mother, extensive sweating. My mother would be standing and water would be running off of her body. If she moves away, it's a pool of water. And she used to be so embarrassed about this. I am not embarrassed. My shame tree cut down. Because this is not something that I went out and bought. This is a natural process that women go through. And our mothers and grandmothers and aunts didn't talk about it very much. They didn't talk about it at all. But I am not afraid to talk about it, because I have found that in sharing my story, I realized that I am not alone. And there is a beauty and a comfort in community when women sit and share with each other, and we realize that we're not alone in this. So I'll wait for when the questions come.
Yes, you can clap there. Now, I have some more questions for Vonette, but one of the things that both panelists mentioned is surgical menopause. And I didn't even know that that existed. So I would like to invite another panelist, Roberta Rose Collins, to tell us a little bit of what surgical menopause is and how was your experience?
Surgical menopause is hell. I was 24 years old when I was plunged into menopause because I had a bilateral oophorectomy and a hysterectomy. I am now 52, so that's a grand total of about 28 years of me being in menopause. I listened to Dr. Batson speak about the clients that he had, and if I didn't know better, I thought it would have been me. I thought the two clients he referred to would have been me he was looking at. I have had severe menopause. I've gone through severe menopause symptoms for most of the past, well, it wouldn't be 28. I'll cut down one because I started HRT last year, which made a huge difference for me. But I had gone through every one of those 100 symptoms in the worst possible way. My biggest message to women, having the knowledge that I know now, or what I have now, is you need to get yourself checked. When you start to feel wonky, now unfortunately for me, what Vonette experiencing, I didn't go through. Because at 24, I am in the height of my childbearing years, right? So there was no, my mother didn't go through menopause yet, so there was no tapering down and all of those things. And there was so little information then. And I remind you, because people like, you didn't Google, Google was not around yet. All right, so I went through this thing by myself, no Google. And a lot of misinformation. So for instance, I was told that if I'm not having hot flashes or vaginal dryness, I'm out the woods. I am no longer in menopause. So up comes 50. Yeah? And 50 said, hey, here I am, are we supposed to be doing something? And I'm like, well, we did this already, so what are we doing now? Back to the hot flashes. Back to, the fatigue, bone tired. I cannot move. I'm sleeping. Well, not really, but trying to get rest. Exercising, eating right, doing all the things that I know I need to do, self-care. As a matter of fact, yes, She Can was formed from my own personal experience of encouraging women to do that because, hey, if we do this, then we could avoid, whatever. It's not, no. Menopause said, I am present, continuous. It does not stop. And that was something, that for me was a myth that I embraced because I was like, I am done with it. Only to realize my high cholesterol as a gluten-free vegan was due to menopause. They checked me twice for lupus because my body was not behaving well. I would wake up in the morning and I can't put my feet on the ground without feeling as if my bones were breaking. Forget it, I couldn't string 2 words together to form a sentence. And it is at the age of 50 I realized that menopause, because you all don't want to know how much my poor husband spent over the years between going to doctors, running tests. I have already just after 40, I had a bladder prolapse and I had to have surgery for that. I mean, you name it. Like I said, menopause affected me in the worst possible way without me even knowing that the reason for me having those things or going through all of that calamity of life was menopause. And so for me, I encourage women. I tell, I have friends who say, I have friends in their 30s, and I will say, listen, go and get your markers. Go find out what are your hormone levels. Find out now. Make that a part of your annual check so that you know when things change. Also, don't. So for me, I search for answers as to why I was not feeling well. So I have what is osteopenia and osteoporosis done. I have a prolapse or collapse or whatever, C3, C4 done. And for years, these things have just been happening, and I've just been searching for answers. What I know now is menopause caused the bulk of that. I would, however, still say to anyone, do not just chalk it up to menopause, because these are the symptoms that I would have experienced also associated to other diseases, with other diseases. So don't just, don't take away from this that, oh yeah, well that has to be menopause. Please check. Find your trusted doctors. Check yourself and make sure that you know your body, and that the biggest thing for me and the biggest lesson I learned is that I don't have to suffer through menopause. I can thrive through this period. This is a beautiful period if we allow ourselves to embrace it.
Check one. Thank you very much, Roberta. I have a question for you. At what point in time did you recognize that all of this was actually menopause? Because you started at 24 and you continued searching. So at what point in time and what triggered it that you realized, but this is menopause?
At 50, so just a couple of years ago, when I realized, but the conversation started to happen, and that's the beauty of having conversations. Because before this, these conversations were not happening anywhere. All of a sudden, Oprah and Halle Berry and all of this started to go through menopause, and menopause became a thing. And because I would have thought that I went through menopause already, I didn't even enter the conversation until my body said, well, sweetie, I'm sorry to tell you, but your menopause, you don't get rid of us. So
we're here to stay.
We're here to stay. Let's buckle up.
I want to ask Vonette a question. Vonette, you're a public figure. You're a jazz singer, you're scheduled hectic, you're a wife, you're a mother. What was the biggest challenge you face in balancing all of this?
Yeah, it's a lot to balance, especially mentally. Let me tell you something. When you are not sleeping well, there is nothing right with the world. You don't feel, there's nothing that feels right when you don't, and that was one of my biggest issues. The fact that I would go to bed at 10, and I'd get up at 1, and I'd be up until my son leaves to school the next morning. I just was not getting in, and I couldn't sleep. And of course, when you're not sleeping, that's the time when all the thoughts come. So there was an anxiety that came with the inability to sleep as well. So everything was exacerbated because I couldn't sleep. I wasn't feeling myself physically. I also started getting vertigo. And for me, minus the sleep, the vertigo is what I'm most scared because it comes unannounced, and I always wonder what would happen if that happens to me whilst I'm on stage. So that is a big worry for me. If you see me performing now, you'll always see that there's a stool behind me. Not because I want to sit, but because sometimes I feel like I need to ground myself because I'm never sure when my head is going to start spinning. So all of those things contribute to So I'll be very honest in telling you that I'm just actually really coming out of a very, very deep depression, a very, very deep depressive episodes, and I don't hide. And I think it was a combination of a number of different life situations, grief over losing someone, and of course, the hormones. Yeah. So for me, I think trying to maintain some level of mental wellness through all of this, balancing everything, still wanting to be present in my home because I have a son who requires that I be present, and husband as well, but my son is a bit more demanding at times, you know, and just trying to remain whole up here has really been challenging for me, you know, but one day at a time.
One day at a time. I just want to say to those on the live and those of you here, if you have your questions, Director Bailey, who is the host, MC, she will take your questions. Or if you would like to ask them yourself, you can. I know some people ask to ask their questions privately, and that's fine. And we also have another director filtering the questions from the live. So feel free to ask your questions. Dr. Batson, who I've known for a very, very long time, at what point in time did you decide, or did you have to treat with women involved with this drastic menopause? Not the normal menopause, the drastic menopause. And what would be your advice? Because it can't be general because it's not a one hat fit all. What was that like for you?
Basically, it was a baptism of fire in the sense that from the beginning of my career in integrative medicine, I was dealing with women who have this particular situation. But of course, as time go by, you get situations where you have very bad clients or clients who have very adverse reactions. And I'll give you a very quick example. There was this client that came to me. Off the top of my head, she could have been like 55 years, and she was going through severe menopause to the point where she had extreme nervousness, so she was trembling. She was literally looking, to give you a visual, as if it is if you put a shak in her hand, she would be as if she's playing with a parangban. And that is not to be facetious, it's just to show you the vigorousness in which she was actually, the aggression in which or aggressiveness rather, in which she was trembling or shaking. And one of the things she shared, because in the consultation, because I would normally have all my tests done, ESRs, live blood work, whatever the case may be. So when I was reviewing this stuff in front of her, she came with her husband. She told me something, because the husband asked to be excused. He wanted to go to the washroom. And this is something that I will never forget as long as I live. She said, Dr. Batson, keep in mind that she and her husband are pastors. So this is a God-fearing woman. She said, Dr. Batson, the only reason that I have not committed suicide is because the insurance policy that I have would not be able to take care of my 3 children. Wow. So when somebody could tell you that, that gives you an example of the frame of mind that this individual is in. So, you know, to answer your question, because of that, I was now forced to become better at what I do because of these aggressive type of circumstances. Women who experience this, I mean, you would see while I'm between these two ladies and they're speaking, you would see my head is constantly, I'm nodding. And the reason for that is because I have seen it all. There isn't any symptomology that would have been explained or showed there by the previous presenter that I have not seen. And when you get women who have it in culmination, where they have the insomnia, where they have the anxiety, where they have the severe depression, and this is not to become political here, because why I am an integrative practitioner is that I believe you need different doctors for different times. As I said, I'm not in the politics of medicine. You need different doctors for different times. And in these particular cases, we have to help women to understand that, even from a dietary perspective, because you're fighting a losing battle. Let me give you a simple example. Look at the liver. Now, a female who's going through insomnia, anxiety, depression, she would not think of treating the liver. A Western doctor wouldn't think of that. But why the liver is important? Simple. Your liver converts protein to amino acids and amino acids to protein. Your brain needs amino acids to produce neurotransmitters. What are neurotransmitters? So epinephrine, norepinephrine, serotonin. Those are what you need to sleep. So the thing is, you could be doing what you want because you do not have the raw material to give to the neurotransmitters or produce the neurotransmitters. You are in a state of disrepair. So in a diagnosis like that now, what you're going to get? Sleeping tablets? How much sleeping tablets could you use? Exactly. So again, therein lies the question of now dealing with the root cause of the problem. Because if you want long-term relief from this, you have to look at it from a holistic perspective. There is no other way, in all honesty, in my experience.
Thank you very much, Dr. Batson. But Dr. Batson, I want to stay with you a little bit. Would you, and I don't want to do, it's not a medicinal banter, it's about choices at the end of the day. Would you recommend surgical menopause?
The thing is, women, the reason why a female is going to have a hysterectomy, which is the surgical removal of her uterus, if she's doing a total hysterectomy, it would be uterus and ovaries. If you have reached a stage where the problem is so severe that it is life-threatening, then in a case like that, you have no choice. Surgery, in my professional opinion, for the past 18 years that I've been in practice, should always be last resort. I always believe in getting second, third, fourth opinions, especially from an integrative practitioner. So if you have reached a situation, for example, you may have really bad fibroids, you may have had a history of hormonal disruption for years, so as a result of that, you may have had polycystic ovarian syndrome, and because your situation is so severe now, because of the size of fibroids that you have, that cannot be treated from an integrative perspective, because that is something that we do as well, where we do diets and whatnot to reduce the fibroids. So if you have reached a stage where you are severely bleeding, your blood count is going to be consistently affected, so you might have a blood count, because you could be in a situation where you could bleed to death. We don't want that to happen. So in a case like that, you have no other choice but to do the surgery. Now, subsequent to the surgery, we could now do some sort of integrative hormonal replacement therapy. We could do exercise. We recommend different lifestyle changes. But if the surgery could be avoided, most certainly.
Thank you very much. And a question for everyone, actually, on the panel. How can we begin to shift the language around menopause from being seen as an end to being understood as a natural life stage in spite of all the things that we have to go through at some point? I'll start with Roberta, and we just come across.
I think by these types of discussions, what happens is that women tend to feel like we are alone. I remember also feeling like, you need to power through, because, my mother, my grandmother, all the women who went before them, they went through menopause and they powered through. We need to stop thinking like that, because it's not necessary. What I know now is that I don't need to power through. But I only know that because of conversations. I only know that because of, people like Vonnet and myself being open to say, hey, we're going through this. But we just realize, hold on, when I say it and you say it and you say it, it's not us alone. The conversations, I believe, are where we start on that, on helping to shift the mindset.
Dr. Batson?
Definitely policy, especially seeing that the minister is here, in the sense that, I believe one of the things that our country needs to do as a nation is, really focus more on diet ethics, focus on lifestyle. We have gotten so busy in doing everything. Everybody driving, nobody walks again. That's why everybody have arthritis. That's why everybody getting diabetes and whatever the case may be. And even though we know menopause is a natural transition that women are going to experience, if they are armed because of policy, especially where their healthcare providers could now give guidance, even from a dietary perspective, because one of the things I'm a huge advocate of is, being proactive as opposed to being reactive. So a lot of women are not aware that there are certain aspects that you can do now before you, so let's say, for example, you're 25 years, you might experience menopause 10 years after, 20 years after. But the point is, once you understand, so you could start taking certain things, whether you use, for example, like evening primrose, whether you use a vitamin D3, you include vitamin C1000 as a daily regime. A lot of statistics and scientific evidence over the years have shown that by actually doing these things now as a you now in a situation where you do not have those severe changes now, because the body could now follow through because of what you have done from building that dietary and lifestyle foundation.
Thank you, Vonette.
Yeah, I think a change of mindset, and it has to start with self too, you know. There's something about aging or something about getting to this stage of menopause that we're somewhat ashamed of. I don't know if it's because it's so much of a woman's value is determined on her ability to bear children or something like that. So you always have this feeling that when you get to that point, you are less valuable. I have an aunt, and I hope she's not on this live. And this aunt of mine was sweating. And I would tell her, girl, that is menopause. Oh, no, that's no menopause. And I would say, yeah, it's menopause. But something about her refused to accept that it was menopause. And we all knew it was that. But there was something about that word that she felt devalued her in some way. So we have to start by the way we think of it as individuals, and of course, the conversations that we have. We should talk about it openly, as we have been doing. I'm seeing a lot more forums, a lot more spaces where people are sitting and talking about it. And I'm speaking about men, women as well as men, because the men play such an important role here. Because I'm telling you that I think the only reason that I'm not divorced is because my husband probably ain't find nowhere else to go. Because it has been a struggle for him. It has, and I'm honest enough to say that. I ain't no easy person to live with, because when I in a mood, and I don't want you to come and talk to me about nothing, much less that. All you know what I'm talking about. You understand? So it is a road that the men are also, because they are so very much affected by it as well. They're walking this road with us. So the conversations have to start happening here in the home. So like my son, if my son comes into a room and he see my face away, he say, oh, okay, I gone, the menopause again. Because I want him to be aware of that. I want to raise an emotionally intelligent young man. I want him to know about menstruation, that it's not that these stages are not easy for women. So the conversations have to start happening in the homes, in the communities, with the doctors, because there are doctors who have admitted that as part of their learnings, menopause was a 2-hour class or something like that. So how are you supposed to diagnose me properly if you don't know? The conversations have to happen a lot more often and in spaces where changes can happen, as Doc was talking about policy changes. Yeah.
Absolutely. This triggers the next question, actually. What advice would you give to women who feel isolated or unsupported by their families during that transition? Vonette.
I'll start off here because I'm thankful for the partner that I have, because sometimes my phone buzzing on a morning because he's sending me some article on menopause too, because I guess it was him just trying to support me in this road, because he realizes that I'm going through something that he doesn't know a lot about, and he probably find it nice and he don't want to leave, so he wants to walk with me. So the partners, the husbands, the fathers, the sons, all have to be part of the process. They have to understand that there's a thing that they say, I have a headache, as an excuse. Sometimes it's really a headache. Sometimes it's an ache all over your body. And I'm saying, and I'm honest enough in saying, if I'm not feeling myself, if in my body I haven't slept the night before and my entire system is off, I am not in the mood to love nobody. That's the fact. So it's going to be hard for you to come and approach me. So you have to understand that maybe she's dealing with something that I have to understand, to learn and understand, to be able to walk the walk. It is much easier when we walk together, when we share information, when we sit down and we talk openly. I say, watch boy, yeah, better you stay away from me today, you know. Yeah, today is not a good day. Or I ain't sleep last night, you know, so you can't come and rub me now because no genie ain't gonna come out if you rub me tonight. You understand? Because I ain't in a good space. It is much better when there's communication, open conversation, and both persons are willing to listen, empathize, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. Dr. Batson, I think this one is for you. This is Beverly from London. Beverly Musgrave Brown from the UK. She says, I live in the UK and was advised that vitamin D helps with general symptoms like sunshine to allow the vitamin D absorption during this time. I was prescribed 20,000 IUD to be taken every 2 weeks, but I was told by another doctor that vitamin D of any kind can be poisonous over time.
The thing with supplementation, so let me answer this in this way. Any form of supplementation, not only vitamin D, vitamin D3, vitamin K2, magnesium, calcium, you name it. It wouldn't fit everyone in the sense that it has to be specific to individuals. So I would have to be aware of your situation health-wise, and then I would be able to make a better recommendation. What I can say is this: there isn't any health situation that I have seen in my 18 years of practice that cannot be significantly improved. We could use the word reverse. We're not going to go to the litigious one, which is cure, but we're going to use the word reverse. We're going to use the words improve. That cannot be improved with a proper dietary, clinical nutrition supplementation. I have seen that because, and I'll give you a quick example. So as regards to vitamin D3, you're looking at 10,000 international IUs. That is comfortable, because if you look at a lot of the world standards, now the European standard, the Canadian standard, the American standard, a lot of what was given before as daily allowance, or what was recommended daily allowances, those things have not been looked at for years. And a lot of what they did with the work, it was, they would have done tests on 20-year-old men. You can't do a clinical study on 20-year-old men and then use that same study for 50-year-old men, or similarly with women. You can't use a study for 25-year-old women and then you have a group of women who are going through menopause and you telling them that they need the same recommended daily allowance. And that is where knowing the client, having a different test done, and then getting a proper assessment from an integrative practitioner or someone who is trained in dietetics, dietitian, that type of thing, and then to tailor something specific for you to get the desired results that you want.
Wonderful. The follow-up question to that is, do you do online consultations?
Yes, we do. Definitely we do.
Okay, so we would post that information on the live. Another question, how early can menopause begin, and what is the difference between perimenopause, menopause, and, in inverted commas, post-menopause?
Menopause could begin, as early as, I have seen in instances, 25 years, and based on the discussions that we would have for a number of reasons. Yeah. If the question is natural menopause we're looking at here,
yes,
then you're looking anywhere in the vicinity of as early as 25, 35. Some women, because that has a lot to do with the number of eggs that you basically have. So some women have a larger egg reserve. They could go into that cessation of a menstrual cycle for 12 months consecutively, and you are now in menopause. So that could happen as old as 60, 65. When you're looking at peri, which is before, so peri is before menopause, so you could be starting to experience these type of symptomology maybe 5 years before, 6 years before, 7 years before. Menopause is when you're actually in the, how to put it, boy, the heat of the thing, where you're going through that phase. The menstrual cycle is completely stopped, and as a result of that, now you're in that menopause state. Post-menopause here is the tricky one. And this is one of the things that I have learned because of experience and not just theoretical knowledge. I have dealt with women. I'll give you an example again. There was an 85-year-old client that I had that came to me like about a year ago. And if you saw the list of complaints that this individual had, the doctors had done about 3 tests for lupus, because one of the examples I give is the ESR, which is a erythrocyte sedimentation ratio. There's also a blood test they do called a C-reactive protein. And in all instances, when I sent her to do that, those were elevated. So her situation where she showed symptomology or symptoms associated with lupus or high inflammatory disease, that wasn't her issue. When I did the work and we did whatever we needed to do, I said, listen to me. I said, you know what you're going through? She said, what? I said, menopause, post-menopause. She said, but Dr. Batson, I went through menopause since I think it was 50 years. She's now 85, so 35 years afterward. She shows specific type symptomology, but those symptomology is not the issue. The issue is the post-menopause. As one of the presenters said, I can't remember her name, she said,
Lisa.
Right, menopause ends when you die.
Well, okay. Menopause ends when you die. My Lord. From the live, this is a comment for the Honorable Dr. Dowlath. It was a pleasure hearing that this is going to enter the educational space. I really applaud those efforts. Thank you. So that was a comment for Dr. Dowlath. You're supposed to clap for that, huh? Oh, yeah. There's a nice suggestion. You're supposed to clap for these things. And please don't, not because it's Dr. Michael Dowlath means that he's the Minister of Health, because people are asking for all kind of policies and treatment, and no. That will be Dr. Lakrambodo. We will ensure that he gets the relevant information. Don't feel free to ask your questions. So we're going again with loads of questions here. Loads. If, this is a tricky one. These people are asking some very interesting questions. What advice to the wives, I'll just say wives, would you give to women who are in a similar situation to yourself but don't have the understanding husbands that they both seem to have? Vonette, go ahead. Go ahead, Vonette.
Well, there's only so much you can do, no, Wendy? I mean, you would really hope that you have a supportive partner. You would really want to work towards that. But if it gets to the point where that person doesn't want to support or that person doesn't want to understand your journey, well, what I'm busy trying to not feel warm. So I don't know that I have control over somebody else's response. I would hope that your partner would want to love you enough to want to go through this, but some people may not. And in that case, I would say self-preservation, because peace of mind is also extremely important at this stage too. Yeah. So I can't be not sleeping in the night, dealing with all these 163 symptoms, and also having to appease a partner who's not willing to walk that road with me. I don't know. Peace first. That's what I would say.
Fair enough. Roberta?
Yeah, I could not imagine what that would feel like.
Yeah.
So that's a difficult one for me as well, because like Vonette, I would choose peace, right? As I mentioned, my husband and I have been married for almost 32 years, and 28 of those 32 years, he's been living with a menopausal woman. I cannot imagine what that feels like.
Yeah.
What I know now, I cannot imagine. That man deserves an award, because I don't know how he did it. He recently, we were recently speaking about that, and again, for him, he's like, conversations need to happen. We are able to navigate because we have the hard conversations. But and he admitted, you know, at one point, because he was young, we were young. And at one point he thought, I just didn't want to try. And it takes a special type of individual to be willing. So as Vonette said, and I'm very happy that she's also blessed with a partner like that who used to buy me books and send me articles and, you know, always trying to understand what. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy.
It is not easy.
It's not easy for them. And the conversations, you have to be willing to, in your relationship, you have to be willing to have those conversations.
Yeah.
I think this question is definitely from testosterone. Can you kindly ask the doctor what we're supposed to do?
Yeah, I was waiting for the question. Yeah. The thing is...
Your mom on the live, eh?
Yeah, I know. the thing is, as the two young ladies here mentioned, you know, having the conversation. You see, if you are not aware of something, you cannot make the necessary changes. You cannot, you know. So it's bringing awareness to men. You know, what I will encourage men to do, you need to read a little bit.
Yeah.
You need to read and understand, because I'll tell you something, for the years again that I've been in practice and dealing with clients, there were some persons who were fortunate enough who have been treating or would have been treating to have my personal cell number. Now I would give them it and tell them on WhatsApp, so try your best, you know, if you have to send something for me. And I remember there's this particular client called, it was pretty late, I took the call, and she was crying, crying uncontrollably. And I said, what is wrong? Well, of course, you know, because of the hormonal disruption, she is just crying. She doesn't know why she's crying. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I say, imagine her husband had to go through that. He wasn't in the country. But in any case, men, we have to inform ourselves. You have to, and the thing is, the more support that you give your partner, the better they are in a position to successfully overcome this, and you will now be able to function as a normal couple. If you understand what I'm saying? Because men have a tendency, if we do not know, we're going to assume. Yeah. There was a particular situation where I had a client, he actually thought before that his wife was being unfaithful. Yeah. Because of what she was saying, because every time she is with him, she's saying she has a headache, she's not feeling good, she has back pain. Yeah. She complains that, you know, after intimacy, she, you know, has a lot of pain, whatever the case may be, because of the vaginal atrophy. Yes. Yeah, so men, what you have to understand, for a female to engage in intimacy with vaginal atrophy, with vaginal dryness, is going to be very, very... She's not going to be herself afterwards. So you can't be a beast and just say, I want to do what I want to do. But again, it's about the education, it's about knowing, it's about having the conversation. And as I said, gentlemen, the faster you understand this, the faster you help your partner, your spouse, is the better the situation would be for both parties.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Well, Dr. Batson said it in bold and underlined. How does genetics and lifestyle play into the severity of symptoms women may experience?
The thing is, when you look at genetic predispositions to any disease, diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, cancer, there's a saying that we have in integrative medicine, and the saying is this: genetic loads the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. I'll say that again. Genetic loads the gun, but your lifestyle is what's going to pull that trigger. So again, each individual is different. You may have a genetic predisposition that may be about 5%. You might have a genetic predisposition 25%. But you have to understand that lifestyle could actually change genes. And this is something that has been scientifically documented, where, you know, the China study, which is the most conclusive nutritional study that was ever done in the world, was a study between the United States, I believe it was Harvard, and the Chinese university and the Chinese government. And one of the things that they did is that they did an extensive study on nutrition and how nutrition affects individuals and that type of thing. And what they were actually able to show, which you would realize now, the lingo in medicine, some years ago they used to tell you, okay, you have a genetic this, maybe your mom had this, whatever the case. Those diseases have now been changed and are now called what? Lifestyle diseases. Because we realize that it's because of our lifestyle we are now in the particular situation that we are in. So definitely, yes, the genetic factor is there and that can play a role, but from the nutritional, from the lifestyle perspective, you can cover a lot of ground and you can correct a lot of things if you really look at it from a holistic perspective.
Thank you very much, Dr. Batson. Just a few comments from London. I love the openness of the panel. And O'Neill Lightbourne is saying, on behalf of my wife and I am a young married man, and allow me to express my gratitude for this initiative from my wife and I.
Great.
So thank you, O'Neill. They're repeating stuff. Genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Yeah, I like that.
More questions. We have a little bit more time. Don't worry, we have questions. I think Vonnet would have touched on this, but I don't know if the person came on a bit late. How can women balance professional responsibilities with the changes and challenges of menopause? And what role does spirituality, creativity, or personal expression play in navigating this stage of life? That's a long question.
That's a Miss Universe question.
Yeah, we cut it in half. The first bit is, how can women balance professional responsibilities with the changes and challenges of menopause?
First, accepting. I would really like, sometimes you're a professional, you go out into the corporate world or you work, and sometimes the most amount of pushback and stress you can get is from another female.
True.
Another female who knows exactly what it feels to have menstrual pain, who knows exactly what it feels to be menopausal, and sometimes the pushback that you get. I always feel that, especially in places of work, we should have programs like these happening all the time. Yes. Because there's a lack of empathy that happens in the workplace. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I'm supposed. How do you depend on me to be productive when you're not receptive to the fact that my body may be going through something? And I feel empathy plays a really great role, but of course, information and information sharing in spaces of work. I'd say that alone.
I could relate to that because we were doing a round of interviews this week, Roberta and I mentioned HR in the workplace, the corporate space, whether it's public sector or private sector, your employers understanding what you're going through, you being able to have that open communication with your employer to get into detail and not feel the need to have to lie why you're late or lie why you didn't come to work, and men being in that mental space and that mature space to really understand what us women have to go through. And you could have the greatest meeting and then I really can't make it.
Yeah.
Are they understanding that we really, really cannot make it? So the next half of your question is, what role does spirituality, creativity, or personal expression play in navigating this stage?
I would speak specifically on spirituality here because, as I said before, I'm just coming out of probably the darkest space of my life over the last 3 months. And in that space, I wasn't able to be creative at all. I just wasn't able. But I was able, day by day, to reconnect with who God is to me. And to some extent, I felt like I had kind of pushed that back. And sometimes I also feel that the downs that happen is for us to be reminded that we have somebody to pull us up to. Sometimes when we're moving on and we're going on and life is happening and all of these things are happening simultaneously, sometimes we forget faith. And sometimes that pull down, that rock bottom, does be to remind you too that, hey, you ain't walking this road by yourself. So spirituality played an extremely important role in getting me to the space where I could be here today, even though I still have anxiety being here, which is not normal for me. But yeah, I wasn't able to create or do what I normally do in that headspace, but I was able to reconnect and remind myself that I'm not here just drifting alone, you know?
And this is an entertainer who's asking a question.
Yeah.
How do you protect yourself from clauses and contracts in this space? So, for example, I think what they mean is you have a gig,
Yes, like
but
tonight.
you really can't do the gig.
Like tonight.
But no, we'd be doing that gig.
Yeah. You know, I've never been in the space where I have not been able to perform. I had to cancel a gig the other day because I was hospitalized. And of course, in the contract, it speaks to being unable to perform due to sickness.
Right.
I was hospitalized and I couldn't go. But even when I'm not in a good headspace or mentally I'm not there, I still kind of power through and do my gigs. And sometimes, to be honest, when I get on that stage, I just forget I'm perimenopausal too. Yeah. You know, because the music takes over the energy of the people, and I realize that this is something that I love doing, even though sometimes I don't always remember that. When I get on stage, I'm always able to deliver. So I've never been in a state where I've had to cancel unless I was hospitalized, which I had to do some.
Well, that's a good bit of information for entertainers as well, to cover themselves via their contracts.
Oh yeah.
So Roberta, what role does spirituality, creativity, or personal expression play in navigating this stage of life for you?
So for me, it's really, really important for me that I live my purpose and stay connected with that. I have been blessed to have opportunities for that in my life, and I hold on to it very, very dearly, because I recognized over the years that no matter what is going on around me, sticking to that, keeping aligned with my purpose, what I know that God has put me on this earth here for, gets me going. It wakes me up in the morning and it keeps me going. And so I'm a huge advocate for persons really searching to find what you're, because you're not as one here, not here just to exist.
True.
You're here for everybody here for a reason. And it's really important for us to find what that reason is, because I can tell you, when all else fails, that keeps you going. It really does. And that connecting with God through that purpose.
And I could relate to that purpose conversation. And you would always find your purpose in your childhood. Just in case some of you are saying, but how do I know what my purpose is? Go in your childhood. Marsha would have said it before, because we've been best friends since primary school. And well, my mom is here. Every single school report, from primary school, past senior come, Wendy's a brilliant student, but too talkative. If Wendy will talk less. And now what do I do for a living? I found my purpose with my voice. No, seriously, I speak for a living. I'm a corporate trainer, I moderate, I'm a keynote, a preaching tour, by the way. So you will find it right in your childhood. The things that you think, you might just overlook, you will find it in your childhood. Adana is asking a question. I think this is for Dr. Batson, or actually anyone. What HRT options are available in TNT? Now, that's a very interesting question. So before you all even answer, I have a girlfriend who gets stuff from Barbados, by the way.
Yeah.
So what's available? What are you all doing?
So for me, I recently started HRT.
Silence at the back, please.
This is after one of my situations, I don't know what to call it. I went to Dr. Stone in Maraval, got my hormones tested as well as magnesium and B12. My estrogen was fine, my progesterone a little low, my testosterone a little low. So recommendations came from that. They didn't want to put me on the testosterone because they didn't want the quality of my voice to change because I sing for a living. So you don't want to pay for Vonnet and hear Barry White. You understand? So I'm not using the testosterone. I just actually, because my estrogen was fine as well, Dr. Stone recommended progesterone, and I take a low-dose birth control pill because generally the HRT was not available here. So I take Culera, I take a progesterone, and I take vaginal estrogen. And the vaginal estrogen is a cream that I insert twice per week. And that's simply because my systemic estrogen levels was fine. But the vaginal estrogen was recommended because of the dryness and the pain that I would get after intercourse. So the vaginal estrogen is something that they recommended that I've been taking, and I could remember the first 2 weeks after taking that, I sang the Hallelujah chorus because it helped so much. Oh my gosh, it helped so much. And it made me happy, but it made me sad because it was also something not readily available here.
Yes.
Because what had to happen is that the doctor that I went to, because he's registered in the States, had to give me a prescription. I had to get a friend of mine to get that in CVS and send it down to Trinidad for me because it wasn't available here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like Vonnet, well, Vonnet, we're going to the same doctor. I use pellet therapy.
Right.
So my testosterone levels were non-existent.
Yeah.
And I want to share about that because my testosterone levels were so low, I had zero sex drive. Like I had absolutely none, as in zero.
Yes.
4 years.
If there's a number that's below zero, that's what I had.
Yeah, it's a number way below
Right.
zero.
Yeah.
And what that did for me, and it changed my relationship.
Right.
So although my husband was very supportive, and he's really happy now.
Wonderful. First of all, I want to say that I was surprised that the Honorable Minister stayed throughout. But he also does have another engagement.
Right.
And we are a little bit after 5, so we're wrapping up. So I want us all to stand and acknowledge the Honorable Dr. Michael Dowlett for your presence. Thank you so much for being here, for staying, and your presentation was on point. Thank you so much. You all may be seated. Just some more from the live. Ria is
No,
saying...
we need Dr. Batson to talk about HRT, what's available here.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's the same person actually. But go ahead, you go about the HRT options.
Yeah, as I was mentioned, the thing is you don't really have much options, as they say from Trinidad. Barbados, you would get it's easier to get it there. Because of the work I do, I would normally work, in this particular case, with MD, and I would add whatever supplemental aspects that I would have from the integrative HRT perspective. So I'll give you an example. Seboctone, for example, which is something, I don't think much people know about it, but seboctone is a type of omega, but unlike your omega-3, 6, and 9, it's actually an omega-7, right? A lot of people don't really have omega-7. And what that does, it helps significantly as it relates to dealing with hormonal imbalance. There's also something we use called Women's Formula, which is a supplement that has a number of different things in it. It has Dong Quai, you would have different things that would actually now deal with the endocrine system. I'm a huge advocate of magnesium, huge for years, because a lot of persons do not understand that when you have magnesium deficiency in the body, there are a number of illnesses or a number of things that are exacerbated or get worse in the body, especially from the aspect of perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. So there are things available. As I said, I believe in an integrated approach because a lot of times, sometimes, you may not be able to use specific things because of your specific situation, and you may have to take a mix
a kind of mix and match kind of situation.
Right.
Understood. We have 2 more questions because we want to wrap it up as well and leave room for us to have a part 2 probably. Message to the panel, do you all believe that we are at the position where legislative policy should become a consideration to navigate the issues in the workplace? Well, I know it's for the panel, but I'm throwing my 2 cents. I don't think we need legislation for that to enter the workplace. I think that could enter the workplace by HR policy.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I answered for the...
A company could decide that they want to implement that
Yes,
policy.
yes, agreed.
Don't need
Absolutely.
Don't need to be law.
All right, so we are winding down. Thank you all very much to all the contributors. This is great information for self-reflection. I'm glad I had my husband sit and listen. Awesome. The questions are coming in. So at this point in time, anybody in the audience here has any questions? Yes. Come, my dear. Come by me. Come up, let them see you. Come by me.
Grace and peace to all. I thanks Mother, my friend, for inviting me, and this was so informative. I am past 65 and didn't believe that I'm still going through some of those systems. And so I just sitting there and I'm like, wow, I have knee problems. Then I start walking because of that. Then I realized 2 weeks after, I'm starting to get dizzy. So vertigo came in, and I'm like, well, what's going on? You know, so what do I do? Which doctor do I go to? The one with the knees, the one with the head, or just you know, because it's whatever the systems are, the system, it's different doctors.
Yes.
But then
That's a
you
very
have
good point.
treatment by 3 different doctors.
Exactly.
So where do we get to the point where we need one treatment? So if anybody has a solution.
Well, the doctor has
Dr. Batson.
Yeah, definitely. And again, that's why I tell persons, and I always say this because I know why I say it, I am not in the politics of medicine. Because people, well, recently someone came to me and she said, I was looking for a functional medicine doctor. This was like about 4 years ago. I said, a what? She said, a functional medicine doctor. I said, oh, that's what they're calling us now? Okay, good, no problem. But the point I'm making is that it's always good to at least have a general practitioner and a holistic consultant of sorts. And why I say that is because you need different doctors for different reasons. So when the physical body is really at risk, so or the physical issue is very challenging, then you need to have that balance there. But in terms of the integrative aspect, remember what we're doing, based on the examples that I would have given you guys before, is that we're not treating the symptomology. That statement that I made where I said your symptom is irrelevant, and I told somebody this over the phone when they called to try to come to see me, or see us rather, and they were giving me the whole list of symptoms. There was someone who came to me at a time and they brought like 6 reports like this from different, one was from an endocrinologist, the next one was from a cardiologist, and 4 other persons. And I said, where's all this information? She said, well, I went to different doctors. I said, listen to me. All of this is irrelevant, respectfully. What we need to do, remember the analogy with the mosquitoes. You will never know the type of mosquito you're going to get. You don't know the amount. You will never know. The point is, if you spray mosquitoes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the next week you're going to get mosquitoes again. The issue is not the mosquito. The issue is the stagnant water. So it is for us to determine what is your stagnant water and then make the corrections. Once we do that, all the organ systems will align. Because when people come to us, they say, Dr. Batson, okay, I have a problem with my heart, I have a problem with this, I have a problem. Like 15 different things. I'm not going to give you 15 different things for that. What I'm going to do is deal with the base or the foundation aspects of the body, the root cause, and that now corrects it. Yeah.
With so many different systems, how do you figure out what is the root?
What is the root? Okay.
Is it generic?
Okay, good question. So let me answer that quickly. I believe in all forms of diagnostic. Any report that a doctor sends to me, I could understand. A CT scan, an MRI, once it is written, words. I'm saying that to say, there's a technique I use called live nutritional blood cell analysis, or what is known as smearing. So we take capillary blood, and we take a live sample, so we see your blood live, how it moves in the body, and we also take something known as a dry sample or a smear. Now, because of the training that I've had for years, what that actually does, you could come and not tell me anything. You could come into our office and just sit down there and behave nice and say, listen to me, I just drink, have salad and walk around the savannah, I exercise. You make me feel that you do the best of things. When we look at that blood, we are now going to see, for example, your gastrointestinal system. Now, you would hear a lot of people saying your gut is important, your gut is important. But what does that really mean? So I'm saying that to say that once we're able to see your gut, so I could see if you're digesting food or not. In our blood analysis, there's something we see where we see something known as neuropeptides. Because how the blood dries, we're going to actually see the peptides to the back of the blood. If you have neuropeptides, I know automatically that you have problems with anxiety, you have problems with depression, you have problems with insomnia. Because it means your body is not metabolizing protein properly. So I mean, each doctor would do their work differently. I do my work from an organizational perspective like that, which is why I have the reputation that I have. Yeah. Yes, I do. You're welcome.
I want to be able to vouch for that. Yeah, because I worked in Dr. Batson's establishment as well, and he always says that two people he can help. You see, dead people and hardened people. Those are the only people he cannot help. I'm being serious. I've seen stage 4 turn around, and I must admit, well, hope the lady not on the live. And so, well, the money she's spending here, this look like Belgrove or Guides, because she was so frail. Her son had to bring her in. 3 months later, they're telling me in the office, Miss Wendy, this is the same lady. I'm like, no, this can't be the same. She said, yes, and I'm going to Miami, so I bring you all chocolates. If you see the lady, I'm telling you. So that was not a plug for him, it's true. Right. You had a question, ma'am. Come, darling.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I love how today was circled, starting with Dr. Dowlad. You know, it was so complete and so whole, I feel full. But with nutrition, I'm wondering with caffeine and alcohol, how does that, if we could talk a little bit about brain fog, and maybe if we could end on the beauty of this chapter in our life.
So good. So
thank you.
So let me see if I get you here. So, okay, if we, okay, let's go with the caffeine and alcohol. So, as someone who has, you know, serious advocacy as it regards to diet ethics, clinical nutrition, I often tell persons that human beings need to exercise the word called discretion. So, but a female, for example, so let's look at someone who's perimenopause, menopause, or even postmenopause. Coffee is going to affect you in a negative way. Now, no, I'm smiling while I'm saying that because I know the coffee drinkers want to choke me right now. but you have to be careful because of the caffeine. Remember, coffee is a diuretic. So essentially what it does, it causes you to lose sodium, and water follows sodium. What it also is, it is a stimulant as well. So I would not advise a female who is in either perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause to consume a lot of coffee. You also have to watch your sugar intake. Hence, when you're looking at alcohol, which we know large amounts of sugar, you know, that actually significantly affects the body in a number of negative ways. So, negative ways rather. So an individual like that would have to do some sort of prioritizing as regards to reducing maybe the amount of coffee, staying off of alcohol. If you're just a social drinker and you might have one drink, maybe red wine or something like that, okay, good, fine. But, you know, excessive amount is definitely going to be problematic. As it relates to brain fog, there are a number of things that could contribute to brain fog, including perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. What I often would say based on my experience, one of the things that I have found, one of the, forgive me if I keep forgetting you guys' name, yes. One of the things Vonette said is that she spoke about vertigo, that spinning. So vertigo is when you have excessive dizziness, lightheadedness. Now, God forbid you get that if you're driving, that's going to be a nightmare. right? She spoke about if she was performing, because of these tools. You could imagine driving and having that experience, God forbid, you're going to be in some problems. But I'm saying that to say that a lot of the times, brain fog is significantly affected by lack of blood flow to the brain. That same blood analysis that we do, your blood is supposed to look a particular way. There's a reason why your red blood cells are concave and not flat. And the reason why they're concave is because that is to utilize something known as surface area to volume ratio. So that just means that when your blood cells, so let me give you an example just like this. So if I raise my hand like this, right? You all are going to be seeing how many sides? 2 and 2. That's 4, right? Now imagine this is our blood cell. Imagine this is our blood cell. We're supposed to have 2 sides. But if they stick together, we no longer have 4 sides. How many sides we have? 2. Now imagine if we have 100 blood cells, we're supposed to have how many sides? 200 sides. So if you have 200 sides, it means you have a higher oxygen exchange. But if we use the same analogy and we take all those blood cells and stick them up, we lose 198 and we only have what? 2 sides. So a situation like that means you're not getting sufficient blood flow to the brain. Once you do not have sufficient blood flow to the brain, your eye is going to start giving you problems. So that's things like glaucoma, blurred vision. You're not getting proper synaptic response to the brain and that type of thing. So it's going to start to affect your sleep. It's going to start to affect your cognitive function. It's going to start to affect your memory. And hence we say, we have brain fog. Okay, so definitely improving blood circulation to the brain is definitely something you'd want to look at.
And ladies and gentlemen, that brings our program to a polite end. At this point in time, I'd like to invite Ms. Marsha Bailey to do the vote of thanks. So seeing that she will be doing the vote of thanks, I would like to thank her for being an amazing host. This is what we were the talkers in class. So yeah, we had the same report. So I understand her very well. So thank you so much for always, always, always stepping up. Over to Ms. Bailey.
Thank you, Wendy. So I want you all to give yourselves a round of applause. I mean, I saw the heads nodding. I saw, the interested faces. So we want to say thank you. So Psalm 107:1 reminds us to give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, and his mercies endureth forever. If Miss Bigfoot was not here, I would have sung, thanks, thanks, I give you thanks for all you have done. We are so blessed, and our hearts are at rest, so thanks. So in his absence, I really would like to thank the Honorable Dr. Michael Dowlard. I mean, he sat through and I saw him pay attention. I mean, usually these ministers come in and they leave very quickly. He sat and he really did his research to present to us. So in his absence, I would like to thank the Honorable Dr. Michael Dowlard. To Wendy H. Lewis for her visionary leadership and for her boldness. I just call it her boldness. To do what nobody else will do and to bring the conversations that nobody else would have. So Wendy, thank you. To the directors, I am no longer an active director on CHAWI, but I am one of the first, and so I take certain privileges. But to my fellow directors, Anissa, Patrice, Ms. Haynes, who had to leave, Ms. Cummings, thank you, thank you, thank you. To this esteemed panel, I'm feeling like I have a sisterhood because all I in menopause, right? All you see my fanning just now, and I now understand a lot of the things that the doctors never told me. So to Vonette, thank you for your always honesty. And I just want to share, when Wendy had to, she's always rocked this style and Vonette rocked this style, and I struggle with alopecia, not understanding that it had anything to do with my menopause, and so I wig it out all the time. But I don't know, maybe we will see what that takes place if by the end of the year I will have the bravery to go back to that short haircut. So Vonette, thank you.
You're welcome.
To Roberta Rose Collins, your openness and your ability to share and be real and your authenticity, thank you, thank you, thank you. To Lisa I mean, she may or may not still be online. Thank you for providing the information that was also timely, taught us about nutrition. And to Dr. Batson, he didn't even know I was one of his patients. But, you know, I went to Dr. Batson's office in Pinal and my mother, and I really had to say that he changed the quality of life when I thought it was all kind of things, not knowing it was the pause. But thank you, Dr. Batson. To Kenny and team, thank you for your seamless live experience. To DJ Govi, thank you for the music, the PS, the sound system, members of the media. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. This has been a Saturday evening well spent, you don't think? We learned, we talked, and we communicated. So in typical Chawi form, you know, we will not forget the men, because that is something that Chawi does, even though we empower women. Women are part of a family unit, and so we look forward to the men version of this platform. So thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your Saturday evening.
No, I ain't seen that. 384. 386. 6498.
Just give me WhatsApp. Yeah, now send me next time. Okay. Just WhatsApp.
All right, okay, because I need to see her.
Yeah.
I'll go cross any ocean to find it. Won't let no mountain get in the way. Yeah. We come cross the water, been through the fire.
And the Chair, District Manager and Regional President of Caribbean Women, Honors and Empowerment, the Trinidad and Tobago chapter, fondly called CHAWI. CHAWI has 13 chapters in Africa, 11 in the United States, Trinidad and Tobago being number 9. Who are we and what do we do? We are mandated to ensure that our sisters, our women, our nieces, our daughters are well taken care of in the avoidance of abuse, gender-based violence, all the different types of abuse, from financial abuse, emotional, mental, spiritual, physical. We are mandated to ensure their safety, mentally, emotionally, and physically. How do we do this? We have an NGO where we look after their needs. We have an NGO where we answer the call. We get calls 3 a.m., 2 a.m. Women need our help. We literally go into the root of the matter. We enter the forested areas to bring these women out. And we cannot do any of this alone. We need you. We need your volunteerism. We need your expertise. We are calling for people to join Caribbean Women, Honors and Empowerment to aid in the fight against abuse against our sisters and our women. Get in touch with us right now. The email address is at the bottom of your screen. The telephone number is there. Our Facebook page is CWHETNT. If you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem. Join CHAWI now.
Take me home. Take me to a place where my heart don't feel no pain. Take me home, take me home, take me home. Well, everybody shouting out right there. It have a rhythm deep down inside me. And if you're looking for me, you're gonna find me.